They say the best revenge is success. But what if your revenge accidentally exposes a massive corruption scheme involving politicians, resort developers, and stolen military veteran land? I'm George Sullivan, and I thought I was just getting petty revenge on the country club that suspended me for moving my golf ball 1 inch during a casual round. The club's president, Trevor Kane, had been forcing out senior members like me through trumped-up violations while secretly negotiating to sell the entire club to luxury resort developers for $85 million. I bought land next to their 18th hole and opened a paintball park to disrupt their tournaments and tank their property values. But my permit research uncovered something much bigger. The club was built on land fraudulently stolen from my World War II veteran grandfather in 1961. You're watching Betrayal HQ, where small-town corruption meets federal investigations. If you're new here, we share the real stories of ordinary people whose personal battles expose criminal conspiracies reaching the highest levels of government and business. Hit that subscribe button and notification bell, because George's case sparked investigations that sent multiple people to prison and recovered millions in stolen assets. What started as annoying a snooty golf club became a federal case involving forged documents, political bribery, embezzlement, and a resort company running illegal schemes across multiple states. My 1-inch golf ball movement turned into the thread that unraveled 60 years of fraud and corruption, proving that sometimes the smallest injustices reveal the biggest crimes. I'm George Sullivan, 72 years old, and I've been a member of Riverside Country Club for 40 years. I've played thousands of rounds on this course, served on committees, made lifelong friendships. So when I'm called into a disciplinary hearing for deliberately moving my ball in violation of Rule 14.2, I assume it's a misunderstanding. The incident happened during a casual weekend round. I moved my ball 1 inch to avoid a sprinkler head, a common courtesy move that everyone does. But the club's new president, Trevor Kane, who's married to my niece Emma and is 27 years younger than me, has made it a federal case. The hearing is humiliating. Trevor sits there with a smug expression as the board votes 5-2 to suspend me for 6 months. I'm stunned. For moving a ball 1 inch? As I'm leaving, I overhear Trevor tell another board member, "That's 3 this month. The renovation is working." 3 what? I realize this isn't about golf rules. Something else is happening at Riverside, and I'm going to find out what. Over the next week, I contact other longtime members and discover a disturbing pattern. In the past 6 months, Trevor has suspended or pushed out 7 senior members over minor infractions. Phil Martinez, 68, was suspended for slow play. Bernard Torres, 71, was forced out over dress code violations. All of us are older members, fixtures at the club for decades. Meanwhile, Trevor is recruiting younger, wealthier members and raising fees dramatically. I confront Trevor in the club's parking lot. He's condescending. "George, the club is evolving. We need members who contribute financially, not just stories about the old days. Maybe it's time you and your generation gracefully stepped aside." His dismissiveness infuriates me. As I drive home, I notice something I've never paid attention to. The land directly adjacent to the 18th hole, a beautiful 12-acre parcel with perfect views of the green, has a for sale sign. The property overlooks the club's signature hole, the one featured in all the promotional materials. An idea begins forming, a petty, satisfying, perfectly legal idea. I contact the property owner, a farmer named Carl Walsh, who's retiring to Florida. The 12 acres are zoned commercial, recreational, and priced at $340,000, a significant chunk of my retirement savings, but affordable. I make an offer. Carl is curious what I'm planning. "Maybe a paintball park," I say casually. Carl laughs. That'll piss off the country club folks next door. Exactly. I close on the property within 3 weeks. My daughter Kelly, 44, a real estate attorney, thinks I've lost my mind. Dad, you bought property for revenge? That's insane. My son Michael, 41, who works in property development, is even more dismissive. Dad, this is embarrassing. You're 72. Act your age. But my wife Helen, who died 2 years ago, always told me I was too passive, too willing to let people walk over me. Not this time. I hire contractors to clear brush and level the land. I apply for all necessary permits for Victory Paintball Park. The county approves them. The zoning is perfect. When Trevor hears about it, he calls me furious. You can't do this. I smile. Watch me. While researching survey boundaries to ensure my paintball park is properly positioned, I dive into county property records going back decades. What I discover stuns me. Riverside Country Club was built in 1962 on a 240-acre parcel that was purchased in 1961 from the estate of Charles Sullivan, my grandfather. I knew my grandfather owned land in this area. He was a WBO veteran who bought farmland after the war. But I didn't know he owned this land. I pull the estate records. In 1961, shortly after my grandfather's death, the land was sold for $28,000 to a development company called Peak Realty Group. In 1962, Peak sold it to Riverside Country Club's founders for $35,000. Even accounting for 1960s dollars, this seems extraordinarily low for 240 acres of prime land. I ask Kelly to review the documents. She immediately spots irregularities. Dad, this sale happened 2 weeks after Grandpa Charles died. The signature on the deed looks shaky, possibly forged, and there's no probate record showing court approval, which would have been required. My blood runs cold. Was my grandfather's estate defrauded? And if so, does that mean Riverside Country Club is built on stolen land? I visit my Aunt Patricia, 89, my father's sister, and the last living person who remembers the details of my grandfather's death in 1961. Patricia lives in an assisted living facility, and her memory is sharp. I ask her about the land sale. Patricia's face darkens. That sale broke your grandmother's heart. Charles never wanted to sell that land. He planned to pass it to your father and build a legacy. But after Charles died suddenly, heart attack, a lawyer showed up within days saying Charles had signed papers before he died authorizing the sale. Your grandmother was grief-stricken and confused. She trusted the lawyer. The money came, but it was far less than Charles thought the land was worth. Patricia shows me a box of old documents she saved. Inside, letters from my grandfather to my grandmother discussing his plans for the land, including notes about fighting off those vultures from Peak who want to steal it for pennies. There's also a partial land survey from 1959 showing the property was appraised at over $180,000, not $28,000. My grandfather was defrauded, and the country club that just expelled me is sitting on my family's stolen land. Kelly, skeptical at first, dives deep into the legal records. What she finds is damning. The signature on the 1961 deed authorizing the sale doesn't match other documents signed by Charles Sullivan. The notary who certified the signature was later disbarred for fraud in an unrelated case. Peak Realty Group was owned by a man named Harold Kane, Trevor's grandfather. Everything clicks into place. Trevor's grandfather Harold was part of the fraud that stole my family's land. Peak sold to Riverside's founders at a small markup, and Harold was one of those founders. He served on Riverside's original board. The country club was built on land stolen from my family, and now Harold's grandson is running it. When I confront Trevor with this history, he's dismissive. That was 60 years ago, George. Ancient history. You have no claim. But Kelly disagrees. Dad, fraud doesn't have a statute of limitations when it comes to property rights. If we can prove the sale was fraudulent, you could have a claim to the property. All of it. The paintball park suddenly seems trivial. I'm not just annoying the country club. I might be able to take it over entirely. Kelly suggests. We search military records. My grandfather served in Noatok, and sometimes veterans filed important documents with the VA for safekeeping. I request Charles Sullivan's full military file through the National Archives. It takes 6 weeks, but what arrives is extraordinary. My grandfather filed a copy of his original land deed with the VA in 1946, along with a will and letter stating, "This land is my legacy to my son Edmund and his children. Under no circumstances is it to be sold. If anyone claims I authorized a sale, it is fraud." The document is notarized and official. This proves Charles never intended to sell, and any sale documents were fraudulent. But there's more in the file. A 1960 letter from Charles to the VA reporting that Harold Kane and Peak Realty were pressuring him to sell at far below market value, and that he feared they'd try something underhanded. Charles literally predicted the fraud before he died. Armed with this evidence, Kelly files a lawsuit, Sullivan vs. Riverside Country Club, claiming ownership of the club's 240 acres based on fraudulent conveyance. The lawsuit seeks to void the 1961 sale and restore the property to my family. The country club erupts in chaos. While the lawsuit works through the courts, I open Victory Paintball Park. The grand opening is spectacular. 200 players, music, food trucks, and most importantly, direct line of sight to Riverside's 18th green. During the club's Saturday afternoon tournament, paintball rounds are going off every few seconds. Loud pops, players shouting, bright paint splattering barriers. Golfers on the 18th green are visibly distracted. One player shanks a shot into the water hazard, clearly rattled by the noise. Trevor storms over to my property, red-faced. "This is harassment. I'll get an injunction." I smile. "This is a legal business on my legal property. Enjoy your round." But the real impact comes from word of mouth. Riverside's reputation as an exclusive, peaceful club is being destroyed. Complaints pour in. A major regional tournament scheduled for next month threatens to relocate. The club's property value is plummeting. Then Kelly calls with shocking news. She's discovered that Trevor has been negotiating to sell Riverside Country Club to a luxury resort developer for $85 million, and the sale closes in 90 days. Kelly provides documents showing Trevor has been in secret negotiations with Summit Resort Corporation for 8 months to sell Riverside Country Club's property for $85 million. The deal would transform the club into an exclusive luxury resort with condos, spa, and premium golf course accessible only to resort guests. Current members would be pushed out. The club's board doesn't even know. Trevor has structured his presidency to give him unilateral authority on exploratory negotiations. But here's the kicker. Trevor has a side deal where he personally receives a $4 million finder's fee from Summit. He's selling out the club and its members for personal profit. This explains everything. Trevor has been forcing out older members like me because we'd oppose the sale. He's been recruiting wealthy younger members who don't care about the club's history and would accept buyouts. The whole modernization was a scam to prepare for the resort sale, and my lawsuit claiming ownership of the property threatens the entire deal. If I own the land, there's nothing for Trevor to sell. Summit's attorneys contact me with an offer. Drop the lawsuit and we'll pay you $2 million to shut down the paintball park and go away. I'm tempted. $2 million is a fortune. But Kelly warns me. Dad, if your claim is valid, you don't own just the paintball park land. You own the entire 240 acres, including the club. That's worth $85 million. My family splits over what to do. Michael, my son, thinks I should take Summit's $2 million offer. Dad, you're 72. You've made your point. Take the money, enjoy retirement, stop this crusade. He's embarrassed by the paintball park and the lawsuit, worried it makes our family look like money-grubbing opportunists. My niece Emma, Trevor's wife, is caught in the middle. She visits me in tears. Uncle George, I didn't know about Trevor's schemes. I didn't know about the resort deal or the kickback, or what his grandfather did to our family. I'm horrified. She reveals that Trevor has been lying to her for months about club finances and that their marriage is in trouble. She wants to help me, but doesn't want to destroy her husband. Kelly is fully on board with fighting. Dad, this isn't just about money. Grandpa Charles's land was stolen. We have a chance to get justice and reclaim what's ours. Meanwhile, the paintball park is thriving. Revenue is strong, customers love it, and it's driving Riverside insane. The club's major tournament did relocate, citing environmental noise concerns. Riverside's property value continues dropping. Then I receive a threatening letter from Trevor's attorney stating that if I don't drop the lawsuit and close the paintball park, they'll pursue all available remedies. I show it to Kelly. She smiles grimly. They're scared. That means we're winning. Trevor tries a new tactic. He convinces the county zoning board to revoke my paintball park's permits, claiming I failed to disclose environmental impact. It's nonsense. I filed all proper paperwork. But Trevor has connections on the zoning board, including the chairman, Hugh Dalton, who's a Riverside member. At the zoning hearing, Hugh and 2 other members vote to suspend my permits pending a comprehensive review that could take 6 months. This would shut down my business. I'm furious but outmaneuvered. Then something unexpected happens. A local newspaper reporter, Sophia Rodriguez, who's been covering the story, publishes an expose revealing that Hugh Dalton owns shares in Summit Resort Corporation. Hugh has a direct financial interest in shutting down my paintball park because it's devaluing the property Summit wants to buy. It's a blatant conflict of interest. The article goes viral locally. Citizens demand Hugh's resignation. The county attorney intervenes and overturns the zoning board's decision, restoring my permits. Hugh resigns in disgrace. I thank Sophia for her reporting. She tells me, Mr. Sullivan, I've been digging into Summit Resort Corporation. There's a bigger story here. Multiple properties, suspicious zoning changes, politicians on the payroll. Your case might be part of a wider corruption scheme. She's right. This is bigger than Riverside. Sophia shares her research. Summit Resort Corporation has acquired 5 properties in our county over the past decade, always following the same pattern. Befriend local officials, push through favorable zoning changes, acquire land at below market prices through pressure or suspicious circumstances, then develop luxury resorts. Profits are enormous, but the process leaves local communities worse off. Riverside fits the pattern perfectly. Sophia has evidence that Summit made consulting payments totaling $180,000 to Hugh Dalton and 2 county commissioners over the past 3 years. It's legalized bribery. She asks if she can write a comprehensive expose using my case as the centerpiece. I agree. The article runs in the regional newspaper and gets picked up by state media. It details the 1961 fraud against my grandfather, Trevor's secret deal, the zoning corruption, and Summit's pattern of schemes. Public outrage is immediate. The state attorney general announces an investigation. Summit freezes the Riverside deal pending the investigation's outcome. Trevor is furious and desperate. His $4 million payday is slipping away, and he's now under criminal investigation for corruption. Then, in an act of desperation, Trevor offers me a deal directly. George, let's settle this. I'll resign as club president, we'll cancel the Summit sale, and you drop the ownership lawsuit. You can keep your paintball park. We both walk away clean. It's tempting, but I've come too far. I reject Trevor's settlement offer. Kelly and I prepare for trial on the ownership lawsuit. We have strong evidence: the military records, the forged signature analysis, my grandfather's letters, the suspicious circumstances of the 1961 sale. Riverside's attorneys argue that even if the sale was fraudulent, too much time has passed, innocent parties would be harmed, and modern property law requires finality. The judge orders mediation before trial. During mediation, both sides present their cases. The mediator, a retired judge, is sympathetic to my evidence, but concerned about the implications. Mr. Sullivan, if I validate your claim, you're displacing 400 country club members who bought their memberships in good faith. That's a lot of innocent people. I understand the concern, but Kelly argues, Your Honor, fraud is fraud. The statute of limitations shouldn't reward thieves just because they got away with it for decades. We reach an impasse. The mediator recommends we proceed to trial. But before trial, I need to find one more piece of evidence: direct proof that Harold Kane knew the sale was fraudulent. Without that, Riverside can argue Harold was an innocent buyer deceived by others. Then Michael, my son, calls with surprising news. He wants to help. Michael apologizes for dismissing my fight. Dad, I've been thinking about Grandpa Charles. I never knew him, he died before I was born, but learning about how hard he worked to build something for his family, only to have it stolen, it matters. This isn't about money or revenge. It's about justice for him. Michael, who works in property development, uses his industry connections to track down records from Peak Realty Group, which dissolved in 1975. He finds a business archive that includes Harold Kane's correspondence from 1960-1962. In those files, a smoking gun letter from Harold to his business partner dated March 1961, 1 month before my grandfather died. The letter states, Charles Sullivan won't sell, but he's old and sick. Once he's gone, we'll work with our attorney friend to facilitate the estate sale. The widow won't know the difference, and we'll get the land for a fraction of its worth. It's explicit proof of premeditated fraud. Harold literally planned to defraud my grandmother after my grandfather's death. Kelly is ecstatic. Dad, this wins the case. This is undeniable evidence of intentional fraud. We submit it to the court. Riverside's attorneys try to suppress it, but the judge allows it. Trial is set for 2 months away. But then Trevor makes a desperate, dangerous move. Someone vandalizes my paintball park. Equipment destroyed, paint supplies ruined, windows broken. Damage totals $30,000. I file a police report. Security camera footage shows 2 masked individuals, but they're not identifiable. I suspect Trevor, but there's no proof. Then more disturbing, I receive anonymous threatening letters telling me to drop the lawsuit or face consequences. One includes a photo of my grandchildren. I'm shaken and angry. Kelly insists we report it to police and request protection. The threats are investigated, and police trace the IP address of emails to a computer at a law firm that represents Trevor. The attorney claims his computer was hacked, but it's suspicious. Police increase patrols around my property and home. Then the real blow. Someone files a complaint with the state bar against Kelly, claiming she has a conflict of interest representing me in a case where she stands to benefit financially. It's a frivolous complaint designed to get her disqualified and delay the trial. The Bar Association investigates but ultimately clears Kelly. But the stress is taking a toll. My health isn't great. I'm 72, dealing with high blood pressure and stress-related issues. My doctor warns me to slow down. Then I receive news that changes everything. An unexpected ally emerges. Bernard Torres, 71, one of the other members Trevor forced out of Riverside. Bernard was a corporate attorney before he retired and has been following my case. He contacts me with an offer. George, I've been researching Trevor's financial dealings. I think he's been embezzling from the club. Bernard shows me evidence he's compiled. Riverside's financial statements show irregularities, expenses for renovations that never happened, payments to contractors who don't exist, missing funds from membership fees. Bernard estimates Trevor has stolen between $600,000 and $1 million from the club over 3 years. He's been using club funds to finance his lifestyle and pay off debts, Bernard explains. I've reported it to the club's board, but they've been slow to act. If we can prove embezzlement, it strengthens your case and destroys Trevor's credibility. Bernard and Kelly team up to investigate. They subpoena Riverside's financial records as part of my lawsuit. What they find is worse than expected. Trevor created fake invoices, ghost employees, and sham contracts. The embezzlement totals $1.2 million. The club's board, finally forced to confront the evidence, votes to remove Trevor as president and file criminal charges. Trevor is arrested for embezzlement and fraud. His wife, Emma, my niece, files for divorce. The man who expelled me for moving a golf ball 1 inch is now facing prison. With Trevor removed and criminally charged, Riverside Country Club's new leadership tries to settle my lawsuit. They offer recognition that the 1961 sale was fraudulent, a formal apology, a payment of $5 million, and restoration of my club membership. But I retain ownership of my paintball park property. It's a generous offer. Michael thinks I should take it. Dad, you've won. Trevor is destroyed, you've been vindicated, and $5 million is life-changing money. But Kelly argues, Dad, the evidence shows you own the entire property. Don't settle for less than what's rightfully yours. I'm torn. Then I visit my grandfather's grave for the first time in years. Standing there, I think about Charles Sullivan, a woo-woo veteran who worked hard to build a legacy for his family, only to have it stolen by Harold Caine and his cronies. Charles never got justice. I reject the settlement offer. We proceed to trial. The trial lasts 2 weeks. Kelly presents overwhelming evidence. The military records, Charles's letters, the forged signature analysis, Harold Caine's smoking gun letter planning the fraud, and expert testimony on property law. Riverside's attorneys argue statute of limitations and harm to innocent members, but their case is weak. After 3 days of deliberation, the jury returns a verdict. The 1961 sale was fraudulent, the property belongs to the Sullivan family, and Riverside Country Club must vacate or negotiate a legitimate sale. I've won. I own Riverside Country Club. Winning the lawsuit creates an unexpected problem. I now own 240 acres, including an entire country club, but I'm 72 years old with no desire to run a golf club. The club's 400 members are in limbo. Riverside's new board requests an emergency meeting. They propose, the club will purchase the property from me for $40 million, which I can accept as cash or as equity stake in a restructured club. If I choose equity, I'd become the majority owner, but the club would continue operating as a member-owned cooperative. It's a reasonable offer. My family debates. Michael wants me to take the cash and retire comfortably. Kelly thinks I should take equity and transform the club's governance to prevent future corruption. Then I receive a surprising visitor, Sofia Rodriguez, the reporter. She's been investigating further and has discovered that Summit Resort Corporation is facing federal RICO charges for a pattern of corruption involving 5 properties in 3 states. My case was the spark that led to a massive investigation. Summit's executives, including the CEO who offered me $2 million to go away, are facing prison. Sophia asks if she can write a book about my case. I agree. But there's one more twist. During the victory celebration, I have a heart attack. I survived the heart attack, but it's a wake-up call. I'm in the hospital for a week, then cardiac rehab for months. The doctors are clear. I need to reduce stress dramatically or the next heart attack will kill me. My family is terrified. Kelly and Michael beg me to settle everything quickly and focus on health. I agree. I accept Riverside's offer. $40 million in cash, with a condition that the club establish the Charles Sullivan Memorial Scholarship Fund for veterans and their families, funded with $2 million from the sale. The club agrees. Papers are signed. I'm now worth $40 million, and my grandfather's legacy is honored. I should feel victorious, but lying in that hospital bed, I felt empty. The fight consumed me. Helen is gone. My health is failing. What was it all for? Then Emma, my niece, visits. She's divorced from Trevor and trying to rebuild her life. She thanks me. Uncle George, you exposed what Trevor was. You saved me from a man who was using me and stealing from everyone. I'm grateful. Other club members visit too, thanking me for exposing the corruption. I realize this wasn't just about property or money. It was about truth and justice. But I still have to decide what to do with the paintball park. Michael suggests selling it. Kelly has a different idea. Kelly proposes transforming Victory Paintball Park into something meaningful, a veteran-owned recreational facility that offers free sessions to veterans, active military, and first responders, while remaining open to the public for revenue. We'd partner with veteran organizations, create jobs for veterans, and turn my petty revenge business into a community asset. I love the idea. We restructure Victory Paintball as a benefit corporation with a mission statement honoring my grandfather's military service. We hire a manager, a former Marine named Tony Martinez, 45, who's passionate about serving the veteran community. The park thrives. Veterans bring their families, the community embraces it, and the noise that once annoyed Riverside becomes the sound of healing and joy. Riverside Country Club, under new leadership, drops their opposition and actually partners with us for charity events. But then I learned something that changes my understanding of everything. My grandfather's military file contained one more document I hadn't fully read, a letter Charles wrote to my father in 1960, never sent. The letter was filed with the VA. In it, Charles writes about his fears, his land, and his hopes for his family's future. The letter ends, "If they steal this land, son, don't let anger consume you. Use the law, use truth, and build something good from the ashes. That's how we win." It's like my grandfather wrote instructions for exactly what I did. Trevor's criminal trial for embezzlement and fraud takes place 8 months after my heart attack. I attend as a witness and observer. The evidence against Trevor is overwhelming. $1.2 million stolen from Riverside, ghost employees, fake contracts, and the attempted bribery involving the Summit deal. Trevor's defense argues he was pressured by Summit and made poor decisions under stress. But the jury isn't sympathetic. He's convicted on all counts and sentenced to 6 years in federal prison and ordered to pay full restitution. Watching Trevor, I feel a complicated mix of satisfaction and sadness. This man married into my family, and I watched him become consumed by greed and arrogance. His grandfather's fraud poisoned another generation. After sentencing, Trevor's attorney approaches me with a message. Trevor wants to speak with me privately. I'm hesitant, but Kelly thinks I should hear him out. I meet Trevor in a courthouse conference room. He looks broken. "George, I don't expect forgiveness," he begins. "But I need you to know, my grandfather Harold filled my head with stories about how he built Riverside, how he was a visionary. I grew up idolizing him. Learning that he was a fraud, that the club was built on stolen land, It destroyed my understanding of my own family. Trevor admits his crimes and apologizes. It doesn't change anything, but I appreciate the honesty. As I leave, Trevor asks, "Do you forgive me?" I pause. "No, but I don't hate you either. You made your choices. Now live with them." 1 year after the trial, my family gathers for Thanksgiving. It's the first time we've all been together since the lawsuit began. Michael and his family, Kelly and hers, Emma, Aunt Patricia, and various cousins gather at my home. During dinner, we talk about what the money means. I've distributed $5 million to each of my children, set up college funds for all my grandchildren, established the Charles Sullivan Memorial Scholarship, and I'm endowing a Veterans Community Center to be built next to the paintball park. The remaining money is invested to ensure financial security for generations. Michael admits he was wrong to oppose my fight. "Dad, I thought you were being stubborn and vindictive, but you were honoring Grandpa Charles and standing up for what's right. I'm proud of you." Kelly reveals she's using her share of the money to start a nonprofit law firm focused on helping families fight property fraud and estate theft, inspired by our case. Emma thanks me for exposing Trevor before he destroyed her completely. We toast to Charles Sullivan, to Helen, and to justice. For the first time since Helen died, I feel at peace. But there's one final piece of business. 18 months. After winning the lawsuit, I attend the grand opening of the Charles Sullivan Veterans Community Center, built on 5 acres adjacent to Victory Paintball Park. The facility includes a gym, counseling services, job training programs, meeting spaces, and recreational facilities, all free for veterans and their families. The opening ceremony is attended by hundreds: veterans, families, local officials, and active military. A Marine Honor Guard presents colors. I give a speech about my grandfather. Charles Sullivan fought in war, came home, and built a life for his family. He bought land not for profit, but for legacy. When that land was stolen, justice died with him until we revived it. A plaque is unveiled. Charles Sullivan Veterans Community Center, built on land restored to honor a stolen legacy. I'm overcome with emotion. Kelly, Michael, and my grandchildren stand with me. Then something unexpected happens. Bernard Torres, Phil Martinez, and other former Riverside members who were forced out approach me. They've pooled together and want to donate funds to create a George Sullivan Courage Scholarship for students fighting injustice. I'm floored and honored. The ceremony ends with Tony Martinez announcing that Victory Paintball has served over 5,000 veterans for free in its first 2 years. This is my legacy, not revenge, restoration and service. Sofia Rodriguez's book, The 18th Hole, One Man's Fight Against Corruption, becomes a regional bestseller. The book details my grandfather's fraud, my suspension, the paintball park, the lawsuit, Trevor's crimes, and the broader Summit corruption that led to federal prosecutions. Sophia donates proceeds to the Charles Sullivan Veterans Center. The book generates renewed media attention. I'm invited to speak at events about elder justice, property rights, and fighting corruption. At one event, a 68-year-old woman approaches me in tears. "Mr. Sullivan, I read your book. My father's land was stolen in a similar fraud 30 years ago. I thought there was nothing I could do." I connect her with Kelly's nonprofit law firm. Over the next year, Kelly's firm takes on 12 cases of historical property fraud, winning 8 of them and recovering millions for families. My case created a blueprint for others. But the most meaningful moment comes from an unexpected source. Riverside Country Club's new president, a woman named Carmen Valdez, contacts me with a proposal. The club wants to honor my grandfather by renaming the 18th hole, the one my paintball park overlooks, Sullivan's Legacy. They'll install a historical marker telling Charles's story and the story of the land theft and restoration. I agree, on one condition. The marker must also acknowledge Harold Cain's fraud, so history remembers both the crime and the justice. Riverside agrees. 2 years after my suspension for moving a golf ball 1 inch, I returned to Riverside Country Club for the dedication of Sullivan's legacy, the renamed 18th hole. I'm now 74, my health is stable with medication and lifestyle changes, and I'm surrounded by family. The ceremony takes place on a perfect spring morning. The 18th hole looks magnificent. The green is pristine, surrounded by flowering trees, and in the distance, you can see Victory Paintball Park with its colorful barriers and flags. The historical marker is unveiled. It tells the full story. Charles Sullivan's service and land ownership, Harold Cain's fraud, the 60-year injustice, and the lawsuit that restored truth. It ends. This hole honors Charles Sullivan's legacy and reminds us that justice, though delayed, can prevail when good people stand firm. Riverside members applaud. Many are new members who appreciate the transparency in history. Carmen Valdez invites me to hit the ceremonial first shot on the renamed hole. I haven't golfed in 2 years, but I take a 7-iron and address the ball. I think about my grandfather, who never got to see justice. I think about Helen, who encouraged me to fight. I think about the petty revenge of buying land for a paintball park that uncovered a conspiracy, recovered a fortune, sent criminals to prison, and created a legacy that will serve veterans for generations. I swing. The ball sails beautifully toward the green, landing 10 feet from the pin. The crowd erupts. Kelly hugs me. "Grandpa Charles would be so proud, Dad." Michael adds, "You didn't just win, Dad. You built something that matters." As I walk down the fairway with my family, passing the paintball park where veterans are laughing and playing, approaching the country club that tried to erase me, but now honors my family, I realize the best revenge isn't destruction, it's transformation. They suspended me over 1 inch. I moved mountains, and I did it all legally, ethically, and in a way that made the world a little better. At 74, standing on Sullivan's legacy, I finally feel the peace Helen always wanted for me. This is how you win.